Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with all the Flat Earth Debate pre-show and after-show goodness. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. If you'd like to keep up to date with the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Now, we are currently joined by Paul and Dion. I'll raise the mic on them as I think Dion's probably got a few things to go through with us. So, how you doing, Paul and Dion? You good?
Hello, sir.
Morning.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, not bad.
What are you guys doing?
Not bad at all. It's a far less stressful endeavour, the pre-show, now that it's only going out on the second channel. I can swear again, although I did, I lost track when doing it on the second channel to go on the primary channel when I was in the pre-show and when I wasn't. So it'd be like swearing in the middle of a show. I'm trying. I really am. I hear people's criticisms and I can do better and I will try.
Just give me 1 second. I just sent photos from my messenger to myself from the phone to the computer so I can download them. Because my computer's fan stopped working, so now I use 2 outside fans just to turn it on for the show. It's still in warranty, so I'll be sending it later on to be fixed. But I'm just trying to not use it so it doesn't burn out or overheats or something. So, all right.
No, there's no pressure, by the way. That's why I run the pre-show, to get these things sorted out before the main show goes out. And yeah, sort my kid out when she wants to make a lot of noise. You want to play Mega Blocks, do you?
I'm missing the most important picture. Where is it?
I don't feel bad, Dion. I haven't opened my laptop in probably a couple of years because I've been using my tablets and phones and stuff, and realize how much work I need to do to get it functional again.
Oh my god. Probably.
Well, he's getting that up and running, Nathan. It was a good show yesterday, and or I couldn't jump in. I was driving, running my little one all over creation. I don't normally use my cell phone, but I think you did a good job. And I wasn't hacking on you the first thing that morning. I was just actually joking more than anything. Of course, she decides to say something when I'm talking to you, as usual. But so just wanted to make sure you knew I was just joking around.
Who, me?
Yeah, I was talking to you. I guess you didn't hear anything.
I heard bits of it over.
Lily.
You've got the same noise going on in your background as I have. So
I was just saying I wanted to let you know. Yesterday when I first jumped on, I was more joking. I knew you. I just wanted to make sure you're thinking I was coming at you or anything.
I can't even remember what you're referencing, to be honest. You can remind me if you like, but I certainly haven't taken it personally, whatever it may be. I'll just not worry. So. I'm not concerned. Don't worry.
Okay.
Try to remember that, people who've been, downright deceitful, I'll still welcome back the following day. So far from it, don't worry. Not that I'm implying in any way that you've done something like that. I'm just saying to contrast that.
Oh, I understand. I got you. I'm usually a pretty laid back person in general, and I hate drama. Like I was listening to Anthony's rant yesterday on Dale. I go if we could just cut out this drama, we could go further with it, and that's one thing I put in the Skype chat. I don't know if you saw it, but I was like, if the heat could have gone down and just started addressing each point, I think your discussion with Bob could have gone a lot further than it did. And I think that Tim quickly, and then instead of addressing each point and then coming to a consensus and even changing terminology would have made a big world of difference in the conversation, I think. So.
Hey,
Paul, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
No, go ahead.
I've got you presented if you want.
I wanted just to ask, how do you guys think we should do this? Should I keep the way that I want to present it for the live show, like with the spicy and dramatic part to it, which will be like the coolest thing ever? Or
don't concern yourself. Just show us what you got.
Basically, you know that I'll be going in a bit of an unknown direction or territory that's not been
Pop yourself on
by
mute,
a lot
Paul.
of people. So, but the thing is that it started with the helium balloon, and then basically from the helium balloon, I discovered God and creation and the exact mechanism of creation, which is yeah, freakish. And this happened. I started on Monday morning. It took me exactly 6 days to finish the work, and it was Sunday on the third month of the year. The year is ends up with 9, which is 3 times 9. I end up discovering the Holy Trinity and creation, and then I ended up taking a rest on the 7th day. Tell me if this is a coincidence.
Well, you couldn't give yourself a bigger build-up, so let's hope it's good.
Yeah, and this is the year that I turned 33. Like, God, give me a break.
So
Well,
are you saying you're 33?
Yeah, I will be in 5 days, I think. Yep, 5 days.
Get out.
Yep. Yeah, do you think I'm older or younger?
Right, I'm ready when you are. Just let's have a
So
look.
basically, here it is. Proof of God and creation in the way that creation came to be, or the exact mechanism of creation. I'll start with 3 questions. First, they're all yes or no answers. I think I forgot the second one, but I may remember it. So first one is, do you think that pseudoscience lacks some of the answers about the world that we live in?
Of course.
All right. Then another question is the one that I forgot, and then third one is actually, do you recall ever seeing creation with your own eyes?
I've taken part in it.
Yeah. It's exactly what you mean. You're on the right point, but just think about it a little bit harder. Have you actually seen it? Because
Actually, I can ask a clarifying question.
yeah.
I know this is going to sound strange, but it's clarity. Now, when you mean by creation, do you mean the beginning of everything being created, or you mean things exist as they are as a creation?
The exact same thing as in the beginning. It's 100% exact. It's just smaller. That's it. It's the exact same thing. Same mechanism, cannot deviate. It's impossible for it to deviate by its own way of creating stuff.
You're gonna have to unpack that a little bit more for me, because
Yeah,
I think the mechanism that would create the universe it could be the different than, or I'm sorry, the universe. I mean the existence we live in can be different than the thing that maintains the existence. So I think there can be 2 different things. Like an auto factory is how cars created, but it's the mechanic down the street that maintains it.
exactly. You're on the right point. Exactly. But I'll bring up some more clarity on top of that. Pseudoscience actually do know everything about how the world came to be and how was it created, because all the knowledge that you need for it is widely available. And actually creation is witnessed every day, probably tens of hundreds of times a day, in laboratories, in hospitals, and in you know, pharmacies and all sorts of stuff, and we've all seen it. Some of us 10 times, some of us hundreds and thousands of times. And the big trick that actually pseudoscience pulled on us is not only to lie about the shape of the earth, but then the biggest trick was that they'll have it in your face during the entire time, and you'll get so distracted that you'll never pay attention to it. And then, if you can see my screen, I give you creation and God. Only way anything can be created. Can you see it?
Where did the diagram noted as A come from?
This one.
Yep.
Uh,
I don't mean the photograph. I mean what is contained within the image. I know what is contained within the image. What created that?
well, it's so. Let's say, for example, picture A. You have the female. It's hard for me to pronounce the name. O something with double O.
Egg.
Or the egg. All right, let's call it the egg. And then you have the sperm that went into it. So the sperm has a plus or a minus charge depending of the gender, and then this thing has its own electrical charge. And when they actually get introduced to each other, this whole part starts to divide into two separate pieces, and they actually share the same information. It's just copied now in two places. And then what's happening is, if you imagine two magnets, let's say, for example, magnet with the south pole pointing to a magnet with the south pole, you know that they try to avoid each other, right? That's basically attraction. If you put the south pole next to the north pole, that will mean that they equilibrate and they mutually kill each other. They stop being two separate magnets and they become one magnet. So for apparent motion, or for the human eye to, or for matter to be observed, it needs two parts, and one of them will create the visible part. The other one will be just there to define the border when the visible part will be created, and the visible part is pure motion, and it's purely electrically driven. So let me, I think I just wanted to show you the magnets. If you give me 1 second. Oh, it's opening my other browser. It's really frustrating when I click the link and it opens the other browser. So I need to so that's can you guys see it?
Yeah, I see it.
So actually what happens is in the, where is it? This thing here. As you can see, it's one big thing, and then when it divides itself into two spheres, then they have to compress a bit. That increases their electrical potential. One is charged positive, the other one is charged negative, and that creates bigger interaction in between them. And this is what I'm trying to show you with the magnets, with the north and north actually being next to each other. This is called attraction. So what happens is, when a solid still light is divided into two separate images of itself, they actually attract each other, and they create what I'm now calling the extraction zone. So here actually is what's being observed as motion. And then from there on, we go to this picture. Second. Where is my phone? We go to this picture, what actually shows the same thing as it's seen in the creation of the human embryo, but is just showing it how it works on the bigger scale. So what happens is, I'm gonna just pop it now from Messenger so you can guys see it. What happens is actually this. Come on, zoom in. I think that's as far as it can go. So basically, imagine as the whole thing, the whole structure, the circle is the egg, the embryo, and it has the sperm inside it. So it divides itself into those two small circles. So one is negative, other is positive. In between them, or actually, let's use those two, the vertical ones. So the one that's on the bottom and one that's on the top, because then we'll get to the plane and you'll get what I mean. So one comes here and one comes here. So in the beginning, they were the same size as the big one, but then they have to shrink down. They have to compress, so that increases their electrical potential. It increases the amount of charge they have. So in between them, they can perform more work, or as the magnets, they can create this zone that's I call the extraction zone. So what actually starts to occur from the extraction zone is this circle here divides into two circles inside of it. Then they will all retain staying on this axis, and as they multiply, the lower one does the same thing. So it's just a cyclical thing that continues inward. So God is creating the universe by imploding in on itself. That's the only way. He will never expand, because never will anything exist outside of God or outside of the engine that's keeping the natural laws working as they are. So God, it's actually the straight line, the still line between all motion, or the centripetal and centrifugal forces in all motion in the middle. That's what's called God's stillness. So you have the centripetal and centrifugal forces, which are called in different from different scientists, radiation and gravitation. So one gravitates inwards, one radiates outwards. The one that's radiating outwards seeks to void everything, and then it will lose its condition. And the other one that's compressing will keep on compressing. It will become a single point, and then it will start unwinding the other way. So it's something that repeats itself indefinitely, like for infinity. And the thing that occurs, the thing that occurs with the two spheres is the beginning is as they get separated, that creates this extraction plane. But then the first thing that occurs in the system is actually the second law of thermodynamics, because you get more energy, this thing gets created, and then you have more heat, and then building up heat starts to produce entropy. And because if nothing is done from here on, entropy will just continue to increase, because they'll continue to bump each other without doing anything else. Just increase the heat and entropy, and it will die off. So entropy is actually not what we think it is, and scientists have known this all along. Entropy actually works as we observe it does, but then there is a thing that can override entropy at any given moment, and it actually does it every given moment. So the next thing that actually occurs in creation is that the dividing of two spheres that I mentioned earlier. So this again creates the same thing as here, but smaller on the two opposite sides. So that means everything is created on this axis. As this axis is traveling through the middle, or the equator of God, which is the big sphere, all the power that's generated from along this axis is immediately copied everywhere in this equator. And as the fragments get smaller and smaller, and they can you see my cursor?
Yes.
Yes. As they get smaller and smaller, it gets more fragmented. So that increases the potential, and as they get more fragmented, what happens with the extraction line is actually it starts getting three-dimensional. It pulls upwards and then downwards. Downwards, we get the solids. Here we get the liquids, and on top we get the gases. This is actually a very simple way to actually create the universe. It's a bit difficult in the beginning to understand, but as you get it once the way it works, it actually you can observe it in every single thing, everywhere. So what happens to entropy then is as entropy increases, you need to avoid entropy, or those big ones, the first ones will die off. So they make new copies and they create new potential energy. And with the creation of new potential energy of two opposite sides, we get
Dion,
the first entropy.
I've got to.
That's
I'm gonna have to start the show. So, and I've got a load of feedback from you as well.
ah,
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat. Shout out to Colin Turner for smashing that already while the intro is going. Massive shout out to you. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. If you'd like to keep up to date with the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum. Most importantly, if you would like to join this discussion right here, right now, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are currently joined by Dion and Paul. Good to have you both.
hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello, hello. Now, although we have dispensed with housekeeping yesterday, I'm going to dispense with it again, at least on this first show, because Dion's midway through a presentation. So I'll do the plug, I'll keep it brief. If you want to catch the first part of this presentation, you need to tune into Nathan Oakley channel, and this will go out after the second show has finished. So to save Dion going through it all again for the live audience, this will go out as soon as the second show finishes, but on Nathan Oakley channel as part of the pre-show. So I don't know if you want to carry on where you left off, Dion.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan. So we get the two first spheres. We get the heat and energy, like we get into with the magnets. Just 1 second. I want to pop up the magnets back again. Where are the magnets? So messy. Yeah, the magnets. So the plane that's in north and north actually attracting each other. So back to the obvious stuff is that we get the big ones, and the extraction plane. We get the small ones, so they contribute as they go inwards and they repeat themselves indefinitely in the central line. That creates more fragmented patterns, which means that they're immediately transferred into the extraction line. So this is got contains all the knowledge information, absolutely still minus 273.15 degrees Celsius, doesn't move. Process or the start of the electrical thought in this mind, or this perfect machine, the perpetual machine, is the creation of the first two, opposite and negative. They start as the magnets to attract each other. They compress themselves to fill equally 50% of the available space. They create the extraction line. They fragment along the vertical axis. That means that in this instant in the extraction line, in the beginning, everything is bigger. So as those big ones start to go fragmented inwards or imploding, not refraction, but imploding. I forgot the word. I said it just a few moments ago. So as they get smaller and smaller along the line, they create more potential, which means that the potential is transferred through the big spheres and into the equator. The central line goes through the equator, the vertical one, and then the equator gets fragmented more and more. And then we start to have the pull downwards towards the positive side, and then towards the negative side to get the pull upwards. That what's causing this, or the process that this thing creates, is actually from this line, the extraction line. The positive starts to extract the solids, and the negative starts to extract the gases because it's getting fragmented, and fragmented by the vertical line. Energy is transferred. All the knowledge or all the patterns are getting transferred to the equator.
Hold on 1 second.
So
just 1 second, Dion. Hi, how you doing, UK Truth? Can you hear us?
Yeah, hi, how you doing?
Very well.
Hi
Good
there.
to have you. If you can just bear with Dion, he's literally coming to about mid part of his presentation. So,
and then what happens is, I'll go back shortly with the big ones. They create the first entropy, or the start of entropy. So then we have entropy increasing as they have to do something, otherwise it will kill itself. They create smaller versions. They create more new potential energy with fragments. To create the fragments, the entropy into smaller and smaller pieces. So entropy is actually a cycle that God can override, and it does indefinitely forever. Otherwise,
hold on 1 second. I just need to say hello to Cinder. How you doing, Cinder?
Hi, fine. I got a presentation too after that. So,
Cool. Great.
interested.
Yeah, definitely.
And because the first appearance of entropy will increase, it's fragmented, then it's transferred to the equator line. All the knowledge and the fragments and the geometrical patterns that occurred from here are transferred in this line. Positive then extracts the solids down, negative extracts the gases up, and then in the middle we get the waters. So we get salt water, and then we get like lake water that's not salted. So as you get
Hold on a second. We've got Sam. How you doing? Can you hear us, Sam? It's been sniped. Not wonderful. Bear with me a second. Welcome back. You've been sniped out of the Hangout, unfortunately, so I've got you back on Skype. If you can present your screen, I'll stick it up for the audience.
How is this happening through Skype?
You just press on the plus, I think you've got at the bottom somewhere. Screen
yeah.
share.
Start recording?
No, screen sharing.
Ooh. It's not showing screen sharing. Turn off incoming video, turn subtitle on, start recording, video call. Alright, where is it? The other, no, it's not here. Enter full screen, window, plus, no, that's for adding people. Bear with me. Oh. No, that's just open up my menu. Show reactions, take snapshot. Screen share. Oh, Jesus Christ. Am I sharing now?
Not yet, but it takes a couple of moments.
Takes a few moments, you said. Oh,
maybe yeah, there we go.
So is it done? It took a snapshot. Jesus Christ. Yeah. So we have entropy in the beginning, and God's way to avoid entropy or to override it, because he's the only one who can do it, it's creating smaller versions which create solid matter, and then it goes to gases on top, negative and positive on the bottom. Then in the middle we get fresh and salt water, again it's, can refer to as positive and negative. So this way entropy gets fragmented as matter gets fragmented, gets more and more condensed, or the geometrical implosion continues. And this is a process that will continue indefinitely forever. So let's say for forever. What? I didn't got that.
Yeah, it's troll attack. I got the back panel.
Should I continue?
Yes.
And this process repeats itself indefinitely, and it gets to a point that's unperceivably small for the human mind, but it will continue on. So every thought inside this brain, it gets its own thought, and then its own thought, and it's relevant to the place that it occurred. So for our mind, our size is comprehensible, and the things that what? Say again? Hello?
Do you hear me? Just ignore the background noise.
Ah, all right. I'm sorry. Didn't got that. And oops, I lost my picture. Bear with me a second. And then it continues indefinitely. So actually, you can see the centrifugal and centripetal forces, which I'm going to show now that I have been taken out of Walter Russell's illustration. So this is actually what's happening. Ones are unwinding and the other ones are inwinding. So this is a process that if you put them in a straight line next to each other, then they will show you a continuous wave. So you can see the bluish part here. So this one is unwinding and this one is inwinding, and then it continues on and on and on. And then this is actually what gives you a wave. And when you turn a wave 360 degrees, you know that you get a 3D shape that kind of has this form, but then it's spherical, so it's all the sides. And then this is why science have this misunderstanding, because they cut the wave in half, they look at it from the side, they see only this part, and then what they see is if you cut it in front, they can see only a point going upwards and downwards, and it reaches its peak and it reaches its bottom. So what occurs is that they're saying that an electron can be, or a photon, or all sorts of the other garbage crap that they're throwing us can be simultaneously at two places. It's not. It's actually what you see is this. This is actually what you see, and this is don't mind the cosmic stuff that's written in it. So this is actually the same thing, but then this shape is the cone that's inwinding. This is the unwinding. So it actually, during this process, this is the way it creates the different elements in the periodic table. So it's, let's say it's one element, but this one element has a version of himself with 90 plus different qualities. So we think that we have stuff like matter and different types of elements. Is just one element that has 93 different qualities and exists in 93 different variations of himself. So this is where we get all the colors, all the octaves with sound, and they all correlate to a certain element or a certain pitch of sound. And then we get to the interesting thing where we see this in nature. Well, we actually see this everywhere. And this morning when I woke up, it's actually, you can see a lens flare is actually representation of God's creation. And the reason God never builds in straight lines, and he never shows this in nature, because God is actually the straight line that keeps all the motion around it. This is why we'll never see a straight line in nature. And then what we get is this. You can see here, lens flare is the same thing as Walter Russell is showing in his illustrations. This thing as well. Going to this thing. So in some cases, we see the ball like the sun. When we look at the sky, we see the lens flares coming towards us, but then we see another one going backwards. And this should ring the huge bell of how right Walter Russell is about explaining this very simple and only process of nature of creating itself, imploding inwards, creating itself indefinitely, and thus being able to override or go around the first law that it creates, and this is the law of thermodynamics. Well, it creates all the laws simultaneously, but then this is the method that this thing can be continued indefinitely with implosion, and that's why all the scientists like Victor Schauberger, who created implosion engines and implosion motion of matter, generate 10 times more power than every explosion. That's why vacuum is so powerful, because where you have absence, this pulls towards itself something to fill it, and then this creates power, compression, and the voidness is actually the stillness and absolute perfect condition of God. That's why we have the barrier, we have the dome on top of us, because we're enclosed inside God's thinking might, and actually we're inside an idea that God dramatically increases the scale of inwards by copying it indefinitely and getting it exponentially smaller and smaller until it gets diffracted or
Being attacked by
created in
trolls here.
a
Can we have
such
two
a
more
small
panel
scale
members
that
to fill up against the troll? So we don't, yeah. So Dejan doesn't get interrupted all the time. Can we have two more panel members?
Carry on, Dion.
Please.
well, basically that let's say somehow concludes my explanation, because then if I have to start and go into the other details is getting really complex. But then the thing that I want to bring out, or the thing that's the biggest thing about it, is that this God is actually very easy provable in laboratory methods. Almost any person can do it,
Got a full
because
panel.
the simple method of production of the world is actually what we see in the creation of human baby, which Nathan is soon going to have, which we're so happy about. And then you can do a test, you can put it into the scientific method, it fits perfectly, you can have the independent and dependent variable, you can build a hypothesis, and from there on you can build you can go on to geometry shapes and why they occur in a certain way, and you can extrapolate or deduct all the knowledge you need only from this thing here. It's so easy from there on.
Very cool. Well, thank you very much for presenting that. Most of it was uninterrupted.
Well, it sounds like you pretty much discovered one of the concepts, one of the great conceptualizers that helped to develop some of the kind of secretly the secret technologies that are being applied. Like this theory is probably the origin of the hyper modern jumbo jet engines that use vacuum to kind of levitate and without barely any fuel propel large airplanes. It probably came from this concept.
So I'm just going to
Yeah,
make some
true.
introductions because we've got quite a few panel members. So I'll just work my way down the list. I've already said hello to you, my bad. So we've got Paul Hall, UK Truth 2222, Cinder, Age, Arwin, Oliver, Flatten Earth, Eben, Chris, and Zach, otherwise known as Good Times for All. So welcome all of you.
Good
Hello,
afternoon.
everyone. Hello,
How
sir.
do you all? Good
And
to be
if
here.
I can just introduce one more thought, because they knew all along what God is, and it was all in front of our eyes, and all the mechanism of creation of the world is been in front of us. And what they actually done is they know it. Everything gets created inwards, and that's why they came up with the Big Bang, because they want to push us in the exact opposite direction of thinking, and that's why we were circle jerking ourselves all along, because we've obtained their way of thinking and we're looking for stuff outside, and it's not outside, it's only possible for it to be inside. An idea is only contained in the mind that it created it.
Awesome. So there's quite a few people on the panel who've got a few things to say about what you've presented, Dion, but thank you very much for presenting it.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're welcome.
We are all in the image of the creator, quite literally.
And I've actually thought that maybe part of the density issue could be related to what you were just describing, somehow magnetic or polaric kind of environment that's causing it. So that's what I thought, but it seemed like that would account for it at some level.
Paul, that was Paul, right?
Yes, it was me.
Yeah, I have my audio a bit low, so it was difficult. Paul, if you go and look at the 4 videos that I've sent to Arwen, or with the Walter Russell explaining this, or the guy that's reading the book by Walter Russell, it will become very clear, because it's a bit difficult in the beginning, because it's a lot of knowledge and the guy reads super fast, and then you have to pause and go back again. But then as your brain starts to to distinguish the different parts and what he's saying, and then it becomes really simple, because actually the process is really simple, but getting into it, and the 5 stages, the denial and all the stuff that I went through for that period, it was crazy. But then when you start realizing what's happening, it's just insane. But if you take a look at this, it will bring so much knowledge. Actually won't leave a question unanswered. It will be mind-blowing for you.
I just want to do a quick shout out to the Awaken narrative for the super chat. Thank you very much indeed. Is there anybody else who's got any questions for Dion? If not, we'll move on to Cinder, who's also got a presentation to do. I know he's a bit pushed for time.
I got one question. How did you stumble onto this?
With a helium balloon. So the thing that was posted by Walter Russell, I started all my conspiracy theory research and all crazy alien space bullshit stuff back in 2010, and in 2011 I watched these videos with Walter Russell's book, and then I haven't seen it for years and years and years. And the other day when I was observing the helium balloon, and I saw this strange peaking of the barometric feet, and then I went and I discovered the ozone layer, and then I started looking into all the components of the atmosphere, then all the separate layers, all the magnetic stuff that's going on there. I went into the Van Allen radiation belts, and there they've thrown a bit of not a surprise, but a bit of sand in our eyes, because they're actually, if you go and see what the Allen radiation belts are, they're actually Earth's magnetic field. They're not a separate radiation field. It's the Earth magnetic field, or the part of it that encapsulates sunlight and it holds it there. So it's a radioactive field, but it's not a separate field. It's actually Earth's magnetic field. And from there on, I went into magnets. Then I saw that actually 2 magnets create a straight line, north and north, next to each other. They create a straight line in the middle, which got me curious. Then I went to those crazy CERN guys' experiments with 2 magnets in a vacuum. When they put high pressure, they put high voltage in this chamber, and they create plasma, and the plasma actually starts spinning like crazy and shapes a disc in the middle. And then it certainly started remembering those images from Walter Russell's book. And then I came back, re-listened to all of it, went back, finished all the reading on all the atmosphere, all the things about electricity, light, and actually all the knowledge that I was able to get my hands on. And then I synthesized and I wrote everything down for the first time in Bulgaria, and now I'm sending it to everybody like crazy. And this is the way I stumbled on it, from a helium balloon.
Any more for any more? If not, Cinder, hopefully you're there.
Yes, I'm here. So, hi everyone. I'm Cinder, and I would like to present you my presentation. Yesterday, I couldn't sleep because I had to think all the time about the scientific methods and like what benefit we got from it and everything. Like I really couldn't sleep, so I spent all night researching, and I stood awake all night to make this presentation. So let's see. The name of the presentation is called here. Benefits from quantum erasers interpretation of science and the scientific method. What benefits did society gain from the scientific method? So here is like, yeah, another one. And here you can see a lot of benefits. Here too. And here too, and yeah. So thanks for watching, guys. Contact me on cinderage@gmail.com to support me in the future for future presentations. I will come back as soon as I will find some benefits for the scientific method to the society.
Sorry, you don't think there's any benefit to using the scientific method?
Apparently not.
Okay.
I'd say
Well,
it's
very good. That was deeply
bottom
amusing.
line
Laughs were had by all.
Well, it took him all night to do that. That's pretty crazy. Wow.
The bit I do believe, though, Cinder, is that took you all night.
I can't believe he laid up. He was kept up late at night for all that.
Well, he's not saying anything new, right? I mean, I think in the old days, even Brenda would say even the scientific method is not science.
Can you repeat that? Flat on Earth.
I don't think he's saying anything new. I think even in the old days, people like Brenda von Azen or whatever her name is would say that even the scientific method is not science.
Okay. That's great.
Or retarded.
Yeah. You can say what you like, can't you?
I mean, I think the scientific method is what's brought us our technology, you know, figuring out this, let's see if this will work, let's see if this accounts for that. And then we've got technology because of through the process of figuring things out. I don't get that.
Well, I think the scientific method is what brought us here as flat earthers.
I mean,
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, yesterday, Spurs Chemo was saying we must adhere to this method. And although I didn't labour the point yesterday, I'm going to labour it now. My purpose in highlighting what the scientific method isn't because I feel we have some fantastic scientific evidence for any assertion that we make. And I've not performed any scientific experimentation, ever, beyond what I did in high school. So that isn't the purpose. The problem is that the people who tell us we live on a sphere tell us that they have proven it scientifically. So we are holding them to task on their claim that they have science. So does scientific discovery help humanity? Absolutely. Of course, an empirical method of proving causes is going to help if you need to find the cause of something. So that goes without saying. But when the assertion is used to claim something that is not scientifically valid, that's when we hold people to task. So when Neil deGrasse Tyson claims that science is true whether you like it or not, well, yes, but you don't have any. So you're just invoking science so that you sound like what you say is real and true, and it isn't. So that's the bit that I'm interested in, not forcing people to adhere to any method. You can do whatever you like. Your method of inquiry is your method of inquiry. And great, present it all. Wonderful. Just don't claim something that's empirical if it's not. It's as simple as that.
One thing I was thinking about yesterday from your conversation, some of this also gets to the term epistemology. How do we know what we know? And what's valid knowing? And I think they can sometimes conflate the two. Like, I can know my wife loves me. Can I prove that scientifically? No. I can make observations about it, but I can't prove it scientifically. But I can know my wife loves me. I know I love my daughter, but can she prove that? But only through her observation.
Exactly. There's plenty of
If
things.
your wife still loves you after flat Earth, I'd say that's almost scientific.
That's so good.
Yeah, there's plenty of things that fall outside the remit of science that can still have inquiries put upon them. And the way Spurs was framing it yesterday was to say that unless we can perform this method on things, then they're not worthy of inquiry. It's like, no, not at all. The issue is that people claim an empirical method when they invoke the language that they do. And that is deceptive in the respect that you are conditioned to believe that that word, science, means something's been proven. So if you're to make an assertion and say science and you haven't got it, you're going to be held to task. That's it. I'm not saying anybody has to do anything. Nobody has to adhere to the scientific method when they make an inquiry about something. You can just look things up sometimes. And I don't mean in the respect that you can look up the answer to a scientific inquiry on Wikipedia. I mean, if your inquiry is, what's my friend's phone number, you can look it up, right? And that's valid inquiry that's had a satisfactory
What's your
outcome.
independent variable?
Exactly, Arwin. What's my independent variable for finding a phone number in a phone book? Not necessary.
One of the beauties of the scientific method is that
Independent variable
anyone
could
can.
be either the phone book or the phone dial buttons. No, never
For
mind.
some reason, I got drawn.
I was just going to say the beauty of the scientific method is anyone can apply it. Just because you're not a quote scientist doesn't mean you can't use it. It's not like a religion where only a certain clergy member can sprout whatever that they want to preach. You apply the fundamentals of science and run a scientific experiment, and you do it correctly. You just applied science.
Exactly correct. Science is a method. If you apply that method, you've done science. You don't need a white coat, you don't need a degree, you don't need anything to follow that method of inquiry. It's just a method of inquiry.
Nathan, will it be, let's say, feasible to say that if you have a female egg and then you have sperm, half of it is dead and half of it is alive, so it has electrical charge. Can this be used as the independent variable in a hypothesis for experimentation with actually creating life in a cell?
The phenomena being the electricity generated at the point of conception. Is that what you're saying your phenomena is?
Yeah, and then the splitting actually of the splitting of the cells. Like, so we cannot start a process if we use dead sperm or sperm outside or if it's cold, because if it doesn't has the correct temperature, so we can vary actually the beginning of the process with introducing different stuff to it, like so death and a live sperm and heat and cold and.
I mean, yeah. The first question is what is it that you want to? What's your question? What are you trying to find the answer to? I.e., what is your
To
phenomena?
find the answer for
Life.
sperm activating the division into the female cell.
It's a valid inquiry. I can't give you a valid hypothesis. I wouldn't even dare.
No, I'm just asking for help.
Sure. I mean, you've got a valid inquiry. You've got a valid phenomena, right? Certainly something you can observe happening in nature. Yeah. So from there, yeah. What do you do if you're trying to empirically prove what is the cause of the beginning of life? Then knock yourself out. I wish you the very best of luck.
Hey, I had to.
You cut out, Paul.
Having internet connections. Did you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Yeah,
We-
but you're breaking every now and then. Yeah, your connection seems to suck.
Yeah, I was sucking for somebody to drop off. I'm on my phone now, so I hope it'll go through. Did you guys hear anything I was saying a minute ago about epistemology?
Yes, we heard all that.
Oh,
Oh, you did? Okay. That's all I needed in. I want to make sure you guys heard me.
Yeah, amazing. We've gone from, pointing out where things aren't scientific to some of the most deep questions you can ask. So wonderful. That's what it's all about, really.
Two opposing sides, and between them, there's the truth gets born.
They've got some very timid panel members. There's 8 of you.
Well, actually, I was going to say something about that intimidation or the tension. Usually, sometimes the tension in whatever we're dealing with is where the truth sometimes lies. And sometimes something that seems to be in conflict could be something that's a unifying factor in it. But without that tension driving it, you will never find it. And I realize in a lot of life, we all have echo chambers, and if you live in that echo chamber all the time, you won't listen to anything else. That other person, that other voice that you allow in that might counteract something, might bring you to something that you didn't realize before. So I think that's what we're learning. You tell me you can't question something, I'm going to go question harder after that. If you keep telling me I can't question it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've got a little bit of trivia for you guys, or probably
Go
some
ahead.
questions.
Right.
So, the French originated the meter, the length of a meter in the 1790s as 1/10,000,000th of the distance from the equator to the North Pole along a meridian through Paris. Now, how did they know where the North Pole was when, if you look up the conquest of the North Pole, it was first credited to being reached by U.S. Navy engineer Robert Peary in April 6, 1909. So how did the French come up with 1/10,000,000th of the distance from the equator to the North Pole?
I have the answer. Like
Sure.
Cavendish, 1/50,000,000th of the weight.
Say that again, Dion.
It's like Cavendish, 1/50,000,000th of the weight. It's probably utter bullshit that they've came up with.
Oh, I see. You're saying... I see. Yeah, you're saying it's nonsense.
Yeah.
That answers your
I
question.
mean, I just, like, every time I go through history, I just find these anomalies through history. Like, things just don't add up correctly, and it's killing me, really.
Yeah, that's what happens when you outsource your lie to other people and you accept them to lie as well, but then everybody adds a piece of him and then it gets mixed up, different variations of history. And it's like, keep the lie, real, keep it simple. It's getting too complicated now, so it's falling apart.
On this quiet, might do some shout outs. Yes, it has gone this quiet. So shout out to Plain and Simple, good to have you. Jonathan Doherty, commenting on how many people watching. 300 people watching, fantastic. Pete Shea, nice to see you. Juan Carlos, nice to see you in the chat. Luca Kai, thanks for being here. John Watson, nice to see you. Fred Smith, thanks for being here.
Can I add a shout out?
Go on, go ahead.
I want to shout out to all the globe heads on the plane. You're welcome. Come and join us.
There is a gap, so if there's a Johnny Globehead out there that wants to debate anybody on what's been said so far, then you're more than welcome. Many Pincolo, see you. Michael Jordan, hello. Negator XX, thanks for being here. Shatner's Bassoon, nice to see you as well. Jonathan Doherty, good to see you. Magic, hello. Chocolate saying you're on the panel. Chocolate still on the panel? No, he's not on the panel anymore.
I just ate him again.
Just ate him?
Yeah, every time on the show I eat chocolate.
That could be taken many ways. Jack, Principal, nice to see you. Michael Jordan again. Jose JG Gonzalez, nice to see you.
It's like James Johnson's in. He made a good video that you aired yesterday.
Oh, Slick James Johnson. Yes, indeed, he did. He gave a bit of clarity to one of the points because I said I didn't agree with him. Because he'd said something, words to the effect of the Globebusters and FE core team have become globe people. And I was like, no, they haven't become globe people. And he qualified what he actually meant, which was to say that they're applying the same tactics. In other words, they're where I would say they're no better than. That's what he meant. So, yeah.
That brings up a question I was thinking of that we can discuss on the panel. And I mean, I like asking questions. Sometimes I don't have the answer, but I just like to ask the question. I'll admit that right off the bat. Maybe, we've been talking about measurements a lot. Like the ruler's been brought up, voltmeter's been brought up, even the gyroscope's been brought up, and maybe discuss, measurement devices and the scientific method. And do they validate, invalidate? Are they useful, or are they or not useful? Because that would also be a way to kind of try to help clarify some of the mud that's out there.
Can I have a go unless someone else wants to? So if I replace any of the list you've just given with thermometer, so you've got a device, a man-made device that has something going on with it. Yeah, the mercury goes up and down. Well, I was discussing this a couple of days ago with John, and I said it's akin when you've got something that you don't have the full knowledge of what's occurring, which is the case with the gyroscopes. It's akin to you being in a sealed, air-conditioned room, looking out a window at a thermometer on a post, and you watch the mercury through the window going up and down. Well, is that a phenomena? No. You don't have the information in its entirety to know what is causing the thermometer to go up and down. Well, were you to go outside, you'd discover that there's a real phenomena occurring. The temperature's changing. Well, you might be able to establish the cause of that effect, but the thermometer, a measuring device for temperature, is not the phenomena itself. Make sense?
Yes. And something else I was thinking about too, like, you're talking about meters earlier, in the UK, they talk about Celsius. In the US, we talk about Fahrenheit. Measurements kind of are arbitrary definitions of something we're trying to describe. Like, I was trying to talk to somebody once about money. I know this doesn't seem relevant, but money. If I look at my retirement account, if I look at it, it's really just numbers on a computer screen. The essence of it is just computer, but in money is just pieces of paper that have value to it. And we determine the value. And I think like Fahrenheit and Celsius is something we are arbitrarily applying something to something that we're trying to determine what it is, or trying to measure something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a quantification, right?
Yep.
Right.
It's the same as when Anthony's got the density gradient, and he says, we're going to call this point here 0. And anything below it's -1, -2, -3. Anything above is 1, 2, 3. So, yeah, you've arbitrarily decided that at a point it's got a number. And obviously that's easy to qualify with the changes of state in things like water. And then you can assign a value to a particular change of state. Hello.
Mine does the same thing. And see, I think that's why, and I don't think Globeheads get this, and sometimes we don't get this. And I think that's, we've got to agree on terms before we can even have a discussion, And if not, I have to constantly translate what you're saying, constantly. I say, well, he's saying this, but he means this, even though that word means this, And I think that's a lot of the confusion I see most of the time across the board. Is that usually where the problem lies? And anyway, I know we've talked about this 100 times. I'm just trying to clarify it in my own mind sometimes when I'm thinking about it.
No, it's great. I mean, people believe what they want to believe. Like when I bring up evolution or evolution of sorts, people think that I believe in a Big Bang, which I don't. And I've said that a million times, and people still think I just think in the Big Bang and singularity. So it's like it's never going to get through to anybody.
But see, the next question out of my mouth is not, oh, you do you believe this? I say, well, what do you mean by evolution? Because there's multiple terms. I believe in evolution if it's change over time, but not macroevolution from cellular microbes to complex systems. I don't believe in that, but I do believe species can change over time. So I believe in evolution if you define it by change over time. But if you define it a different way, I don't believe it.
Shout out to Leonardo Gonzalez for the super chat. Really appreciate your support. Thank you very much indeed.
Now, when we're talking about measuring devices, a lot of the measuring devices you can kind of figure out nearby. Just like the thermometer example, you just move to another area that has a different variance in temperature, and meters, voltmeters, things you can measure pretty close to vicinity. One thing that always gets me is the compass, because I don't know if someone tried to figure out at the North Pole how to get there and figured it out, or someone just happened to create a compass on accident and saw that it always pointed north. And how did they get to the point where they figured out, oh, it points to the magnetic North Pole?
Shout out to Retro Bill for the super chat. Again, thank you very much indeed for your support, guys. I really do appreciate it.
I mean, any thoughts on that? Because you can easily look and say, okay, there's Polaris, and the compass points there at night, so it must be pointing towards that location. But to actually get to that location, especially way back then, seems like it would be near impossible, because no one seemed to have gone to the North Pole until 1909.
Yeah, the history that we have been given is pretty shoddy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's disappointing.
Because the question is, how much will we ever know about the past, given that the winners write the history and the winner's motivation isn't necessarily historic accuracy?
Well, I think about this too. Even you could give true data on history, but if you're filtering it through a specific lens, it can distort the data. That you guys get my meaning on that? Like, you could say, well, Hitler ruled Europe, or whatever, or conquered Europe. That's data, but it doesn't give specifics on why he did that. Or I'm not saying either way, but the determining factor. And obviously, if you filter it through a specific lens, you can think, well, Hitler conquered, conquered Europe or whatever because of this reason, and show a positive reason for it, And I think sometimes how do you get past your preconceived biases when it's looking through history, and how do you when you're communicating history? The Civil War, there's all kinds of going back and forth here in the U.S. over the Civil War, but it depends on your bias, which determines how you're going to look at it.
Yeah, definitely. We'll never know anything. I mean, it's just our beliefs and things are just like music. When you listen to Indian music, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I think it sounds absolutely crazy. But Indian people love that music. It's just what they're conditioned to listen to, and everything that they listen to has to have some kind of resonance of the music that they know. And I think everything is the same way, whether it's religion or politics. I think everybody is just conditioned fundamentally, and they can't sway from that. And everything that we've been conditioned with are lies, and we just build our truth from that. And that's sad, whether it be religion or the scientific method, anything.
So what's wrong with the scientific method?
Say again, Dion.
What's wrong with the scientific method? I didn't
That
get
it's
that
not
last
it's
part.
not what's happening today. As we heard on the show at Globebusters, they're accepting something as a scientific method, which is not.
I understood it now. Cheers.
One of the things that I talk about to my daughter, she's 5, is she hates pain. She cries a lot, and I tell her pain is sometimes good. And in our society, pain is not good. Everyone takes pain medication pills, but I tell her, look, if you can't breathe and it hurts, your body's trying to tell you need to breathe. If you're thirsty, you're parched, it hurts, your body's telling you need to drink. If you're hungry, sometimes it gets to a point where it hurts. Your body's telling you need to eat. Same thing with a cut. If your body has a cut and you feel it and it hurts, your body's trying to tell you, hey, this needs work, and make sure you're able to do something about it. So perspective is also a certain factor, and I think with medication and things like that, they just look at the one side of the health aspect, but not necessarily everything that can be factored in.
I'd like to respond to that for a moment and say that the allopathic medical way is to deal with the symptoms and then counter those symptoms, while how I interpret the workings of the body and signs of pain rather from another angle, and it's more about a sign there is something going on here. This requires your conscious attention so you don't overlook it. Because if you have pain, that doesn't always mean you have to have pain medication to make it go away. It can just mean, look, calm it down. Because you need to calm it down. Let's say you don't have anything to fight off the pain or whatever. You'll need to calm down. You can't work full speed. So it may be just an indicator to just cool it down, take it easy a bit, and that will in practice often help if a person can actually set themselves to take a few steps back and calm it down. And that's more in the direction of the German New Medicine approach, which is like 180 degrees opposite of the allopathic medical approach, where it's basically suggested everything heals naturally. And it's more pointing at where is it coming from? How do the body cycles and the metabolic cycles work? in relation to symptoms that may pop up. Look into it sometime.
So if you're watching this on the Nathan Oakley 1980 live stream, then stay tuned as there will be another live show to follow. But if you're watching this on Nathan Oakley, then stay tuned as well, because there will be a short after show to follow. If you do need something to keep you occupied in the short break, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Community Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Massive thank you to all who hit the super chat and for tuning in. So massive thank you to all of you in the live audience. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
I think everything works that way. I think Earth works that way, how it heals itself. I think we are no different. So yeah, I absolutely agree. But we also have to look at both sides of things. Like my son, my other son knocked his tooth loose and made it bleed, so he was in pain. So I gave him some medication and it didn't work. But I knew that the ibuprofen is for nerves, and then acetaminophen calms the muscles. And so I knew I was able to give him acetaminophen without messing up his liver, and he did feel better and he got a good night's rest, So you can't just throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they say. You should do whatever you need to do.
You're right. I get. Look,
Hey,
it's a tough
all right.
decision. If pain is very acute
Hey,
and
Jose.
somebody's going berserk, then
Hey.
yeah.
The Jesuit gangster.
What's with this Jesuit gangster stuff? I don't get it. Hey, plain truth.
His middle initials.
Hold on,
Dion,
hold on.
Jesuit gangster.
Why Jesuit though?
Because things he says are from that angle, right?
Who?
No. But it's
You're
okay. It's fun because of JG. I got it because of JG. That's all.
Good.
Did we lose you for a second there?
Yeah, my laptop overheated and I switched to the mobile.
No
It's really
worries.
burning hot now.
Yeah, well, you definitely can't get in the hangout now because you've been sniped.
Yeah. Can I hear it from here?
Say again?
Yeah, can I be joining it from here? Like, as
You are.
was
You're still
during-
part of the show. You're just part of the show on Skype.
Yeah.
If you need to see something for the sake of argument, then I can very easily just stick it into screen share mode for you. But at the moment, there's no.
Oh, no,
there's
no,
point.
it's fine. No,
Everyone
just
can-
conversation. So fine.
Sure. Everyone can hear your conversation though, so everyone on the panel can hear you.
Hey, Nathan, give you a quick kudos on what went down on Globebusters. Not that it was either right or wrong. It's a little saddening, for myself. I feel a little sad because I like all of you guys, So it's kind of bad seeing this kind of people who want to take sides now. Like Nathan is right, and Bob is right. Everybody is right, everybody is wrong. Whatever. Hopefully we can all move on from this. But whatever needed to happen went down. So thank you for keeping it real, at least from your side.
Fair enough. Thank you very much.
And same with Riley Anthony yesterday. He did a hot show, kind of. He got a little bit of back and forth with Dale beyond the imaginary curve. Somebody brought him to his attention, and a little bit of name calling went down and a couple stuff, but it needed to happen. Hopefully he just got it out of his system and move on from this and just forget and ignore the other people. I mean, that's what you got to do. Keep doing your thing and move on.
Yeah, I equate it to like the Lord of the Rings with the One Ring. Anyone who tries to use it, whether it's a bad guy or a good guy, we just know it doesn't end up well. So we just can't use the same methods that what we're going up against are using.
Right. We can't. It's all about the methodology, and we're up against the Phoenicians. And if you use their methodology, you become one of them, or you become naturally, spiritually subservient to them. So it's a risk with every element you adopt.
So it's kind of like one ring laser gyro to rule them all.
I see a new phrase entering the debate.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's like you are never gonna hear Jose bringing up the Cavendish in quote experiment as to defend the gravity, because I am not comfortable talking about it. I never had a big opinion on gravity, and I will not yet because I haven't researched it enough. I don't feel comfortable on how to develop a conversation and have a discussion about it. So, if all the globe believers believe the Cavendish experiment is the God to rule the gravity, the mass attract mass, good for you. Congratulations. Don't add me to the equation in that sense because I will not argue in favor or against it because I'm not comfortable. Just giving you a little example what I'm standing.
Gravity is just an aberration.
I will never argue from a point of pictures of space prove the Earth is round either. No, I will not. I refuse to do it. Thank you, Flutter, for giving me this question, doubting, and auto hoaxing everything.
I was considering like what would really happen if you could technically move very, very far up, maybe even in these impossible layers for some reason, because you got technology adapted to this shit, electromagnetic propulsion or ion shields to prevent, all that shit affecting the inside of the apparatus you're using to fly up. What are you gonna see down there? And I'm thinking like maybe it would just end up be like looking through a looking glass down. Like you're just gonna see a circle, and outside of that circle, you're not gonna be able to see anything. And it's probably just gonna be a part of the Earth, but it's not gonna be like half the globe or anything, just a circle shaped part of it. And so much just left out of sight. That's what I've been thinking.
And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who have joined us in the Nathan Oakley premiering stream for this after show. Also, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!